Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve. My host is Pete.
Hello.
Hello. This episode we are talking about Without Remorse from 2021.
Or Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, depending on where you're reading about it.
Yes. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast, welcome, traveller. And why don't you subscribe to the YouTube channel? You should be. So this is Tom Clancy's second sort of character that's most well known, obviously, is Jack Ryan, which we've had all the way back to The Hunt for Red October with Alec Baldwin in 1980, was it 86 or something?
So that long ago.
It's something like that. It goes back.
See, this is my little confession. I have never read a Tom Clancy book. I have never played a Tom Clancy game.
Okay.
And I have never watched a Tom Clancy film until now. So I haven't seen Hunt for October. I haven't seen Patriot Games.
What?
I haven't seen Clear and Present Danger.
What?
I can name them, and I haven't seen the TV series recently either.
It's really good. John Krasinski is a young Jack Ryan.
I don't know why. I haven't seen them, but
They're really good.
I just rattled off the names of them like that without, and they weren't in my notes. That was literally my mind, my memory. Thank you. Despite my advancing years, I still can't remember.
Excellent. Well done there.
I can't remember anything of use, but I can remember the names of films I haven't seen. I don't know what it was, but I've seen bits of them. I've seen like 5-10 minutes here and there, like when they're on TV and stuff, but I haven't.
Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan. There's even an early one when there was a young Jack Ryan one with Chris Pine, remember?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
Which I've not seen that one, though, but I've seen all of the others, and I've seen the TV series, which is really good.
Has Ben Affleck been Jack Ryan? Did I imagine that?
I think he has. The Sum of All Fears, wasn't he Jack Ryan in one of them at one point?
Gosh. There may be more Jack Ryans than there have been James Bonds.
No, not quite. No, but this is not a Jack Ryan show. This is the John Kelly show. Yes. So these are based on novels called Without Remorse, Rainbow Six, and there's one called The Bear and the Dragon. Tom Clancy's been a very busy boy over the decades.
I think the Rainbow Six has been games as well, haven't they? I think already.
Yeah, lots of kind of sneak around, shoot people in the face games. But this stars our man from Creed, Michael B. Jordan, as John Kelly.
It does.
It's directed by Stefano Sollima. It's written by Taylor Sheridan and Will Staples. And Taylor Sheridan is, for me, becoming a really interesting writer for his... I mean, he's done a lot of television because I know he's worked on Yellowstone, the TV show, but he's done some really interesting films that are a bit different, like Wind River. Have you seen that? I did a 5-minute review on that.
No, I haven't
really
seen that.
Good.
He did both the Sicario films. I know you've seen... I've seen the first one, but...
Me too. I haven't watched the second one yet, but that's such a different film. And then he's co-written this. So that's...
And he wrote Hello, High Water, which I really like as well. I've done a 5-minute review of that as well. But the director that you mentioned, the Italian director Stefano Sollima, directed Sicario 2.
Ah, right, okay.
And also the TV series Gomorrah, which I think was on HBO, which I haven't seen.
No,
but the other writer, Will Staples, has mainly come from video games and the TV series Shooter, which I also haven't seen. It sounds like I don't watch anything. The more I talk, the worse it sounds. But
this is quite different. This is, I suspect they wanted to bring more of Tom Clancy's stuff to TV and film, and they've got the Jack Ryan thing going. So now they're starting another ongoing character that's been around for over 20 years from looking at the novels that they haven't touched before for some reason, as far as I know.
Not as a standalone. I believe that the character has appeared in some of the other movies. It's like, so there is... I wonder if it's going to go that way with the MCU making everyone want to make crossing over franchises. But I think William Dafoe, has played the character before. And I'm not sure who else, but in some of the other films, they've made like smaller roles alongside Jack Ryan. So they are in the same Clancy-verse, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, there is...
it could get very meta, and then they bring in Clancy Brown at some point into the Clancy-verse. That would be good.
Yes. Well, there is an overlap, apart from the obvious, in this film with the Jack Ryan world, if you like, because John Kelly's boss is called Karen Greer.
Right.
And she's the niece of a character that's very big in the Jack Ryan universe stuff. Like his close friend is called Greer.
Okay, so when there's a scene where they talk about,
your uncle this and blah blah, it's Greer, and that's the kind of, as soon as they said the name, I went, oh, okay, she's his niece. Oh, okay, yeah. So it is the kind of join the dots in the universe, and that's where we're at, and it's bringing it all together. It's Easter eggs. If you've seen the other stuff, you go, oh, okay, and therefore immediately I went, I trust her character. I know she's legit. If she says something's true, it's true because of who her uncle is, and that means because of who she is. She's not going to suddenly turn out to be the bad guy. Like, we're going to spoil this film as we talk it through. All the way through, you're thinking, oh, Jamie Bell's dodgy. He's dodgy. His character's, he's up to something. He's trying to kill everyone. He's trying to betray them. Oh. As soon as I saw her, I'm like, I know 100% she's clean. She's not involved in whatever's going on around the edges,
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, she's very good, actually. Jodie Turner-Smith, isn't it? From Queen and Slim.
Which I've not seen yet.
TV. I haven't seen that either. But she seems to be a breakthrough kind of actress at the moment, I think.
I've watched Night Flyers. That was the... it's on Netflix, I think. It was based on the George R. Martin short story or something. And it's a sci-fi kind of ship with weird, creepy stuff going on. But she's in that, yeah.
I feel a bit sorry for Jamie Bell because he's one of those actors that like broke through as a child. So all the way through, like you're trying to go, well, is he? Isn't he? But I was like, I don't know if Billy Elliot. I think Billy Elliot's bad, or I don't think Billy Elliot is. It's a bit like whenever Daniel Radcliffe is in something. It's like I'm not sure if Harry Potter is on the level. Harry Potter
saved the day today.
It's not fair, really, on these actors. He's got a beard now, for goodness sake. He's a grown man, but he just
no ballet shoes. No.
Yes, he's been in Snowpiercer. Yes, he's been in Jumper. But I'm just like, it's Billy Elliot. It's the bad guy, ballet guy. That's what it is. And then actually one of my favourite actors is in this, Guy Pearce.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because he was Mike in Neighbours.
Obviously.
But because of like Iron Man 3, Hurt Locker, Memento. And Jack Irish, which is, having done my notes today, I was looking into, have you seen the Jack Irish series where he's like a ex-lawyer, I think, turned into private detective? It's an Australian series. I think he just decides to go home to Australia for 6 months a year and then makes this TV show based on a series of books.
Wow.
But it's I've watched this 3 TV movies and then 1 series, but the second and third series haven't been shown in the UK. So I was almost at the point of spending a ridiculous amount of money trying to import a Blu-ray that probably won't work on my Blu-ray player, but never mind. But yes, I'm a big fan of Guy Pearce.
He's very, very good. Very, very good.
And then Lauren London is Pam Kelly, the wife, who's been in films I've never heard of. Always Forever with the number 4. So a film made out of text speak. And The Perfect Match. And I'm not going to go further down the cast because it's one of the problems I had with the film is there's 2 different crews that he's part of, which are relatively interchangeable. And quite a lot of them look very similar. And I found it a little bit confusing.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. You don't really get to spend much time with them or get to know them, given that within 20 minutes, most of them are dead, apart from Greer. And you're like, oh, okay then. You know what it reminded me of? It was Lethal Weapon 2? No, is it 2? When they go around and kill all the cops, the South Africans.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, so they break in all the apartments and kill all the cops. It was that kind of a feel, like they're going after all of them. They go after Riggs, but they don't get him, but they get a bunch of other people. And they don't get Murtaugh because he sat on the toilet. He sat on the toilet, isn't he?
They do blow up his toilet, though, I think.
They do, but he does survive. But it just as soon as that happened, I thought, oh, okay, I get this. I can see what's going on now. And then the film kind of changes halfway through and...
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think we were both quite excited. We saw the trailer and we're like, oh, can't wait to watch this.
Yeah.
And the film is not that much like the trailer set up a different film in my head.
Yep.
A very different film in my head. But the opening scenes, like you say, when you they do this thing where they do shortcuts with the characters, like I'm the wise ass, he's the bad ass, I'm the whatever. And I'm like, okay, I need to remember your faces. Something's going to happen. You've just introduced yourself in a way that makes me think it's important.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, the guy putting out of his bins, I think he might be no, hang on, the guy in the car, he's the wise ass. Okay. And then as they get killed one by one, I go, okay, I was introduced to these people in a way I'd remember them. So when they died, I knew they were part of his crew. So that was good. But yeah, and so I was like, oh yeah, okay. It's a pure revenge film. It's a John Wick, but with a bit of espionage thrown in. It's kind of, but it's not really that either. It's kind of, it's more like a political thriller, but isn't. I can't. It's hard to explain what this film is, although we're about to.
Yeah. So, as we said, we're going to spoil it. Someone behind the scenes is manipulating the governments and the powers that be for the purpose of making America go back to war with Russia, because they believe that that's how you advance everything in terms of technology. The economy grows because you're manufacturing lots of weapons. The army's very busy and all the suppliers, and the knock-on effect is after the war comes a great period of growth and prosperity because you're making lots of money. And without an enemy to fight, the country's floundering, and everyone spends all their time fighting each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
you need a common enemy kind of unites
people behind them. So they attempt to create an awful tragedy on both sides to get both sides angry and fired up to want to go to war with each other. But that's at a very high level. But you're supposed to be just following John Kelly on his thirst for revenge, which kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
Once you realize that that's not what the film is about. So it does sell you on this John Wick style thing, and then it isn't that at all. But there is action, but
there's some very good action. It's just not. Yeah. I think it's a weird thing. Like, again, we're spoiling obviously, but his wife is killed and his unborn child is killed.
Yeah,
and it reminded me of like 80s kind of exploitation movies that I've seen with like Wings Hauser or somebody starring in them, or Gary Busey, and they break into the house and they shoot the character's mother, and you just think, oh, but it was very much a thing, but it's not something you see that often anymore. It's kind of not as...
It's killing the wife, girlfriend, mother as motivation to motivate the main character to go out and get revenge. It's uncommon these days. Yeah. It's a thing that they used to do a lot, to try and give the main character agency and make them angry, but it also ends up sacrificing all the female characters.
Yeah, I think the fact she was pregnant, and then he does kind of fall apart as you'd expect him to.
Yeah.
But then he's back to work. Then he kind of starts to fall apart again, and he is like willing to sacrifice himself, which made sense. It's almost like he's got nothing to live for. So once he's got the revenge or sorted things out, then he doesn't need to live anymore. And I thought that was quite powerful.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of undone when he's kind of, again, with spoil, he's rescued. And then he's like, I'm back. I've got sunglasses on. And it's like, this film has been quite linear. Your wife is still barely dead. And your unborn child is barely dead.
Yep.
Maybe don't go around thinking how cool you are in your sunglasses with your gun just yet. Maybe kind of, I don't know. It's weird. I think if you're going to lean into something like a family member being killed, unless it is really deliberately schlocky and kind of death wishy, then it has to be deftly handled. And I think they, in a way, I mean, Michael B. Jordan, I think, is a really good actor, and he's got that great balance of like charisma and presence. He's got acting chops, but he's also very physical. So he's kind of the perfect person to play this part. And you do believe that he's up, when he's like crawling up the bed and he finds the body and stuff, and it is really powerful. And then later, when he kind of is just wailing, like he goes back to the scene and is just crying, it's really powerful. But then I think the fact that's kind of switched off so quickly, and I appreciate if you're going off to go on a mission, which I'm not sure. I know it's a contrivance for the story that he has to be on it. I don't think he would be allowed to go and look for the people who killed his wife. Greer
says he's not suitable to go. And at first you think she's the one that's sort of being difficult and awkward. And then you realize actually she has got his best interests at heart, because she knows the only thing facing him when he comes back is prison, and he's got nothing else to lose. So he could actually mess up the mission for revenge. And he does, because he locks the gate. He goes in to see the Russian who's set it all up, all of this thing, and he does threaten the entire mission. And then it would have gone pear-shaped if not for the other guy, not because of what he did, but because the Russian turned out to be another pawn. Kelly could have messed up everything he was going through. So she knew this, and she said this before he went on the mission. And it was only he was overruled by Guy Pearce because he knew he wanted things to go wrong badly. So, but I don't know. There's something about the whole film that doesn't hang together right for me. It isn't that the script is bad. It isn't that in particular. I think it was marketed in a way that's slightly misleading. I think the story was trying to do too many things at once. I think if it was more set up as a political thriller and less of a revenge film, and you'd focused more on him and the other characters, and so that they're all in it together kind of a thing, and the political angle was a bit more obvious from the beginning, it wouldn't have felt as disjointed as it was at times.
And I think even just if it had just been his crew were killed and he wanted to be on the mission and he's got another crew to take on, and he feels more responsible for them because he lost his last crew.
Yeah.
That feels, obviously he would care about the people that he's, his team, but it removes it just slightly enough for me to believe the rest of it. And I think the rest of it would kind of fall into place then. But I think the fact it was his wife, and again, his unborn child, it just felt a bit, I don't know, it just felt.
I mean, the angle with Jamie Bell's character, who's CIA, and the fact that they're suggesting that right from the beginning of the film, he's dodgy, he's up to no good, he's playing both sides, he's betraying America for some reason. And, Green kept saying to him, why? What's his angle? What does he want? It turns out it's not him, but he's really not helping his case because he won't share information. And I know that's how the script's been set up, but if you're thinking about it as the character and you could see this guy's falling apart, I don't know. I think it was too much of a red herring, and it didn't work because you're supposed to think it's him, but it just doesn't follow through properly. I know in the end, there's this sort of, you're okay. He doesn't even say thanks or I'm sorry. This guy just kind of just helps him out. Just keep saying Jamie Bell. Character of Ritter helps him out in a way at the end so that he can be free. But I don't know. It was a weird thread that they didn't pursue properly or very well for me. You know what I mean?
It either felt like, he is definitely the bad guy, and this is telegraphed, or they're telegraphing it deliberately so that later they can flip it on its head. And so all the way through the film, I was like, he's either definitely the bad guy or he's definitely not the bad guy. And then I was like, well, who else is in this? Who else could it be? And then it's like, well, it's got to be Guy Pitt. And he's like, well, there's not really anyone else. Greer, I think, it was tenuous, like you said, and the connection to the other characters I didn't know, but it felt like she was being used to get to him because she knew him the best. And she had his ear and stuff, and then you go, well, it's a film with a twist. I've seen another review that said they earned the twist. I'm not sure that they did really, because, well, I don't know if they didn't earn it. It was believable, but it wasn't really a twist. It was just, well, who is the one doing this? It's one of two people, which I don't know. There's
two people in that room apart from him and Ritter and Greer, and it was, the head of the CIA that we met. I can't remember her character's name. And then, it's Guy Pearce. And it's like, well, it's one of them two. And I know Guy Pearce. Secretary Clay, we've seen him.
Yeah, and he's a bit like another Neighbours actor whose name escapes me, the guy who was Jim Robinson, who always pops up. Alan Dale.
Dale.
Yeah, who always pops up as like the dodgy vice president or a senator or something.
He's always evil. He's great at it, though. He's so good.
But Guy Pearce is almost like he's either the lead or he's the secret bad guy. That seems to be like the two things he does.
Less secret now that we know whenever it's Guy Pearce.
Like, it's like, well, he's not the lead in this. So hang on a second.
Villain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God! Right, let's talk about some of the action scenes.
Yes, I mean the action scenes are, I'd say, the saving grace, but they, although a lot of them are in the trailer, which is probably why we liked it so much. But I do not want to cross after seeing Creed and Black Panther and this, I'm going to stay on the right side of Michael B. Jordan and his stunt performing friends, because what I did believe in this film is that he is a special forces guy who is very, very good. Like, it happened to lots of us go, Steven Seagal is not just a cook, he's the greatest Aikido cook in the world. But like with this, I was like, yeah, I buy that this guy is, and he even says himself that he's like, there's no one else quite like me. And you go, but he's got that arrogance, but he can pay it off. It reminds me a little bit of Chris Hemsworth in Extraction, where you kind of go, yeah, you are rather special at this.
Yeah. And
you know exactly what you're doing.
When he has that knife fight in Extraction with the Indian Special Forces guy, the two of them, man, we spoke about that. That fight scene was amazing. It was so good. And in this one, when the invaders, it's before that. When he's fighting, they're going to rescue the hostage at the very start.
It's kind of the James Bond pre-titles kind of mission.
Isn't this where he takes out two guys with a knife and puts a knife in one guy and then pins the other guy with the knife and then shoots both of them? You're like, oh, yes. It was.
What have I written here? He is brutal and efficient. What was in my notes. But he does. It's that. But I guess it's the fact that they're military. They just go in. They come out of the water. And then it's just like, just taking out people, and it's not in that kind of stylized John Wick kind of. That's really impressive, but I'm not sure that physics work like that. It's this person is doing this, almost Krav Maga kind of style. It's like it's brutal, efficient, quick ways of just taking people out to get to the target.
Yeah, it's not like in martial arts films where they punch someone 17 times and then go, okay, bring it. And you're like, no, you shoot someone once, you stab them once. They're dead. They're out of the game. That's it. That's what you want. You move on to the next target. And that's what he does. He just takes someone out. When someone surprises him, he adapts, he overcomes, takes someone else out. Even Greer at one point when her gun jams, it's just like, my gun jammed. And she still just took the guy out with a knife.
Yeah.
So again, I like that. I know we're going jumping around, but I like the fact that when Greer's fighting the sniper and she takes him out, he runs in and he's too late, because it would have been really, really crappy to have him suddenly save the woman in the film. The fact that one, she's his superior, and two, she's just as qualified as him. For him to come, even though he's the lead, to be like, oh, well, I've saved you. It's like, no, she's a trained soldier. She knows exactly what she's doing, but she just goes, my gun jammed. Just gets the knife and stabs the bloke through the face instead. And you're like, yeah, she can handle herself perfectly well. That's fine. When in the heat of the battle, they save each other. But for him to suddenly rescue her, it would have been and I'm glad they didn't do that. That was well scripted for sure.
It's just dawned on me that in a way, this film is Predator without the Predator. Because they're sent on a mission.
Yeah.
Someone who's sent with them and sort of knows the reality of the mission, not what they're actually doing isn't what they're really doing.
Right. But they're not hunting they're hunting a Russian, in theory. True. Are you telling me the Predator's Russian?
No, but they think they go. Their pretense is they're going to rescue the people, but then they're also going into the village and they find out
at the very beginning
the people aren't from where they. It's okay. It's like the first 10 minutes of Predator.
Yes,
in some ways,
right.
In not many ways.
They find out it's the Russian arms base.
If Billy Elliot is Carl Weathers,
yes, then yes. For the first 10 minutes, it is Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you. We watched a film the other day. I did, that was Predator. I did a 5-minute review on Jiu-Jitsu. That was, they wanted to remake Predator, where an alien comes to Earth every 6 years and they have to fight him, but using Jiu-Jitsu. Otherwise, and then he comes back every 6 years again and fights like 10 people, I think. I can't even remember. But it was so bad. Even had the same cloaking technology, and it was such a bag of shit. Like, just don't watch it. It's so bad. I was like, oh, it sounds brilliant. I'll watch that. Drink heavily, before you watch it, and then you'll enjoy it. Otherwise, you'll be like, why did I just waste like 90 minutes of my life? Because I think I gave it 1, and I probably shouldn't have. I've never given a film 0, which we've now brought in.
I have.
That you brought in. That you brought in, which I've never done before. I should have given it a 0, to be honest. I gave it 1, and that was me being generous because Nick Cage was off his tits in it, like always. But
well, I'm going to segue now. So the film that I gave no bags to was Good Day to Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis. And as those films went on, we've talked about in all the Die Hard movies, we've said he gets more and more invincible. And there were times in this that I thought, oh, Michael B. Jordan's very hard to kill. Mm-hmm. But then I went, do you know what? It's a different thing. He's not just a street cop who's jumping
the wrong place at the wrong time. How can it happen to the same guy? Because
they keep paying him
lots of money to do it. That's why it can keep happening to the same guy at the same time.
But I think in this, I was like, well, no, he's a special forces guy. He still would have probably died. But I suspended my disbelief more readily, I think, in this film than in the most recent Die Hard films.
Which was awful. Yes. Lowest combined score we've ever given to a film. Yeah.
When your average is half.
It's not good. It's not good. The action in this film is really good. It's more convincing. It's more believable because the characters are special forces. They know what they're doing. They're on a mission. They go in, they get it done. And if they can't, they adapt and overcome. So when they're caught in Russia, when the mission's gone wrong, he blows a hole in the wall with that kind of like plastic explosive stuff that they paint on and stuff. And they create an exit. And then I like that they're still working as a team. So even when someone's injured, they're sort of saying, 6 o'clock, so-and-so, 6 o'clock, and they shout it, and then covering fire. And it's the kind of stuff I'm assuming, actually do, as opposed to just, there's someone shooting, where? Over there. And then your finger gets blown off when you point, So they use hand signals, they use phrasing, they use those kind of stuff.
And I think he's consistent with, like, in the opening scenes, like, again, this is what makes Jamie Bell's character not very likable. He's like, we just leave your guys behind. They're not mission critical. Yeah. And he's like, well, no, they're my guys. So he goes to get them. And then when it happens again, he starts to like have his second crew that he's given are starting to kind of, he makes sure that they all get out. He's willing to, and I quite like that. Like in the first, he's willing to go and save them. But now that he's lost his wife and his baby, he's actually willing to sacrifice himself. Although he does make it out on that occasion, but he is willing to, be the last man in the building, and also, which I did like, save the day in a way because the whole diplomatic incident goes away if he's just, and that I thought that was quite clever. That was quite smart to go. Look, I'm willing to just, if it's me, I'm a wanted criminal. Yep. Because remember that bit where I went into prison for no apparent reason for 5 minutes? No idea why. Remember that bit?
Because he blew up the Russian diplomat.
No, but I don't mean why did he go to prison? I understand the concept of like, you do something bad, you have to, but there was no story reason for him to go into prison. He didn't even have a fight. In my head, somewhere, there's a fight scene with trays, hitting people with trays that in the canteen, and with putting somebody's doing like bench press and he pushes the weight on their throat. Yep. That is a scene that is in the version that probably got cut. Because, well, no, I just think he went into a prison and they went, all the people in there are Russian, they're all going to kill you. And then he talked his way out and about 2 minutes later.
Well, he had to fight. He had to fight with the prison guards.
Oh, it is true. Yeah, you're right.
And then more prison guards turn up with riot gear. And then the guy turns up the phone and she goes, if you're done, you can come out. And he goes, oh, okay.
Do you know what? You're right.
Had you forgotten about that fight scene?
I had.
He turns on the tap, takes off his shirt.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, that's one of the best scenes in the film. I apologise. I apologise. I said earlier, I'm despite getting old, my memory is good. Yeah. My long-term memory is fine. My short-term memory.
My name's Steve, and we're doing Bags of Action Without Remorse from this year. Yeah. But
that is an amazing thing because you're like, why is he taking the shirt off? Not just for the people at home. Why has he put this? Why is he? And I
blocked up the sink. What he was doing. I thought, why? I didn't understand at first. I thought, is he going to put the shirt on and wrap it around his hand and have it wet or something? And he doesn't. And he just ties this vest around his hands and all that kind of stuff. So that was quite
Yeah.
interesting.
Do you know, that was really good, and I had completely forgotten about it. And thank you. But no, that because again, he's taking people out, but it's not one man fighting 20 people. That's ridiculous. It's like, well, yeah, it is one special forces guy who has put a plan in action very quickly.
He takes out 3 prison guards.
It's a little bit Keystone Cops where they all walk in and slip on the water, but that was his intention. Didn't have any bananas on it.
Yeah, and there's like 20 lined up, and you're like, well, this isn't going to go well. They're going to beat the crap out of him when they come in. And then he's saved by his boss, by Greer, who's got the message out. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the scene where he basically, as you say, sacrifices himself and he sneaks everybody else out. And he's throwing tear gas and he's throwing grenades and goes up on the roof. And he nearly gets shot at one point because he's hiding behind that barrier. And that thing that they never do in films. They always do it, but they never do it really. Where you hunker down behind something and the bullets just ping off and they're like, yeah, he's fine. But one goes through his barrier and clips him in the shoulder and he's like,
as well it would.
Yeah, and you can see the bullet hole. You're like, oh, okay, that's really not good. That's what would actually happen. So that was quite good up on the roof. But it reminded me of something where he dresses out as one of the Russians in the gear. What is that film? Where they create the big... Oh, it's Leon.
Oh, yeah.
It's Leon. He does exactly the same thing, kills a bunch of people, fills the building with smoke and bodies, puts on the outfit and walks out and escapes. Have we not done Leon? Yeah. We haven't talked about it.
Sorry, The Professional for our American viewers and listeners.
Is that what it was called?
It's called The Professional in America, yeah. Because they couldn't understand Leon because it's a French name. I don't know. It was called The Professional. I'm sure it was called.
Are you American? Do you understand that Leon is a name of a person?
I think it was called. I'm pretty sure it was called The Professional.
Wasn't it the first film of Natalie Portman?
It was.
Age like 12, 14 or something?
Yeah, I think so. 12, I think, yeah.
We've got to do that film at some point. Do that soon. Yeah, so that's what it reminded me of. It took me a while to click, but I suddenly thought, okay, I can see what he's doing here. But that was quite clever. I didn't think he was going to make it out. I thought he was just going to get blown up and put in a Russian prison or something, or that would be the end of the film. I didn't realize this was potentially a new franchise.
Yeah, we'll go on to that as well.
Go on.
Also, I don't know. I mean, if I was thinking of perhaps setting fire to the outside of a car in order to get into the car to have a chat with the person in the car, is that possible?
I think, so the thing in films that isn't true that they always do, which is the car will blow up when it gets the gas tank, that in theory is possible, but I think actually getting it to do that is really hard because of the way cars are built. So the fact that he poured gasoline over the outside of the car, set fire to it, and then ran in, and yet he came out without any burns. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
I suppose that when he was sat in there and it was on fire. Yeah,
the glass was cracking.
It was cracking,
and it was very warm.
And I guess there's an element of like, well, he's just lost everything, so he now can take these people. He can do stuff like this because he's got nothing to lose. And if he dies, he dies. But at least he'll get closer to the truth.
If he dies, he dies.
Spoilers, he dies.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. But he got in the car to get the information from the Russian because he could. Yeah. And everyone said he's untouchable. And you're like, okay, I know what's going to happen now. Man with nothing to lose takes out other man. I thought he was going to run away and escape with the information, but he just surrendered.
Yeah.
But anyway, never mind.
No, never mind. And so I guess kind of where are we? I don't know what much else is to say. I guess the end. I guess this nice kind of thing where he's willing to sacrifice himself in order to take down the senator.
Yeah,
he's willing for them to die together.
I didn't like the dream sequences.
Okay,
it reminded me too much of like Deadpool and other films where they're close to the border of death, and then suddenly see their loved one if this film is very, very grounded, if this film is very much about real men, we're supposed to believe that these are real special forces people, and it's set very much in this world, having the dream sequences and the kind of fantasy of his wife and all that kind of stuff, I get why they did it, but it didn't work for me. If for the tone of the film, if they're trying to, I know he's like, oh, he's a family man, blah. Yeah, but it didn't work for me because it made it too not supernatural, but on the edge of it.
The first time we saw it, he was in hospital on a drip, and they'd said that he probably wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
So I kind of, although he seemed very fine the next day, that was the thing. He's like, he's not going to make it, and they never really explain it. He just gets up one day, does a bit of physio,
and then swims a lot,
grabs his gun. There's a few times that that happens with the film, but it was, I don't know. It didn't bother me as much.
Just very Deadpool too,
Maybe.
I was like, you wouldn't get that in Clear and Present Danger. No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that's your next project, to watch the Jack Ryan universe film. And do some reviews going all the way back to the Hunt. Have you seen Hunt for Red October?
No, I don't like submarines particularly.
You don't need to One, you don't need to go on the submarine. Two,
no, I don't like to go on them. I am a bit claustrophobic. That's not.
You're not on it.
I know, no, but that's not the reason. I'm like, okay, what's this film about? A submarine. Oh, I don't particularly like submarines, so I won't watch it. I wouldn't watch a film.
It's an action film.
I wouldn't watch a film about mushrooms.
It's an action film, Pete. It's not an action film about mushrooms.
I always thought it was a bit I assumed it was talky and very kind of like, shall we press the missile? Yes, or shall we not press the missile? Is
that your Russian accent?
No, that was Sean Connery's Russian accent. I don't know. I just thought you can't do much. I don't know. Can you do much just driving around in a submarine firing missiles? Like, I don't know. Like, you don't like watching car-related films, do you? Particularly,
I don't like ones with cars going very fast where they just do nothing except drive cars around, like Fast and Furious and Fast and Furious and then Tokyo Drifting Fast, and we're family.
Well, I'm saying I haven't seen Crimson Tide either.
Which one's Crimson Tide?
It's Crimson Tide, Denzel Washington. Is it Crimson Tide? Denzel Washington submarine film.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I haven't seen it because it's got. I don't particularly like submarines.
Okay. I'm challenging you to watch some of the Jack Ryan.
Oh my God! Actually, having said all of this, I think I have seen The Widowmaker, which is a
K-19 Widowmaker.
Yeah, Widowmaker, which is, I think, is that Liam Neeson?
Yes.
And Harrison Ford.
I think so. Yes.
And that is a submarine film.
Yes,
and I haven't seen that. How weird. Maybe I don't like. And I've seen Das Boot.
You've got a black spot in your mind for.
I watched Das Boot in school. You watched
submarine films
in history in school. I don't like very popular, high budget submarine based films. Okay. Apparently,
but you could try some of the other Jack Ryan universe films, like Clear and Present Danger, and some of the other ones. They're really good.
Do they all work? Do they work standalone?
Yes, because when they did them back in the day, we didn't know if we were going to get any more. Okay. So it's like a James Bond film, but not. If you know what I mean. So when you see this next one, it's a little bit later on, and you go, "Oh, okay, I remember him, and I remember her, and that's so that's his wife, and that's the daughter, and okay," and then it carries on, and you get another story. But the years between them are they're not really close when they did the film.
So Harrison Ford did 2, right? And everyone else has only done 1 each.
I think so. Let's have a look. Okay. Jack Ryan, Harrison Ford. So he did. The Sum of All Fears is the Ben Affleck one,
right?
Harrison Ford did. Let's have a look.
Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games, isn't it?
Yes, but before that, you had The Hunt for Red October, which was Alec Baldwin, I think, as Jack Ryan. Yeah, so Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger were both Harrison Ford. Ben Affleck, Sum of All Fears. Chris Pine did the early one. And then Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, so Harrison Ford's done 2. Everyone else has done 1.
But it feels like in the Clancyverse that Michael B. Jordan will be doing at least 2.
He'll do another trilogy. I can just... Yeah, there's at least 3 books.
And that was one of the things that frustrated me the most.
Go on.
Because, I don't know, like, if you're not Marvel, you don't need to do an end of credits scene. It's like, I don't know, I don't know. I suppose John Wick, the first one, felt like a standalone film. Then they came back and built the universe, and then 2 and 3, like 2 very much set up 3, and 3 ended up setting up 4, which is an interesting surprise. It's not a trilogy. Yeah, 3. I thought action-wise 3 was great, but the ending was a bit like, oh, you bastards.
Just crowbarred another layer.
Why do you want us to have a 4th one? We don't need it. Oh yes, money.
Yeah. The Continental TV
and particularly with Derek. Well, Derek Kolstad is gone, isn't he? He's not involved.
They're doing a spin-off with the ballet dancer film, and I'm like, oh, come on.
It's like, just don't.
Anyway, so this one,
it reminded me a bit of Extraction and a bit of Old Guard in a way, both the Netflix movies, where the film is a little bit less satisfying on the basis that you know that there's another one coming. Now, I don't mind there being another one coming. I probably would watch another one.
Yeah,
but I'd rather, I don't know, it's kind of a trend, but I'd rather it wasn't like, and again, it's that thing, if you just watched him kind of struggling this whole thing and almost be suicidal because his wife has died, and then suddenly at the end, he's like, got my sunglasses on, and oh yes, the next film, no baggage, I'm just out there with my guns. And it just felt a bit, I don't know, I didn't like that bit at all.
Mm. Yeah, changes his name and disappears into the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to stop doing that in films where someone walks into a crowd and then just before someone flicks past and they're gone. How did they do that?
They're crouching down.
It's magic of cinema.
If they leave it running, about 6 people fall over them.
Sorry, mate. Sorry,
I'm hiding. It's the end of the film.
Yeah, they do that so many times in films. They've got to stop doing it. It's been overdone. That's been overdone.
There are very good things in this film, but it does lean into some tropes quite heavily.
Are we ready to give it some scores?
I think so.
Okay.
Would you like to go first this time?
I knew you were going to say that.
I went first last time, and I hit you with a 0. And where could you go from there?
I could only go up because there's no minus. There's no minus bags. I'm drawing a line. You can have a 0 to 5. 5 being max, no half bags. No minuses allowed. Otherwise, we'd have had minuses years ago. Or pluses and minuses. You get into all sorts of weird shit. Okay. So the trailer was slightly misleading. The action was really, really good. Michael B. Jordan is extremely good as a lead. I've seen him in, dramas. I've seen him in other kind of films where he plays really emotional scenes and he's really convincing. He's one of the new kind of leading men for me, the new generation. There's people like, there's him. There's, I drew up a list the other day, and of course I can't remember any of them. Ryan Gosling is another guy who can do anything. He's amazing. He can do comedy, he can do drama, he can do action. That guy, he can dance. Fantastic musical. Just going to say it.
So can Jamie Bell.
I'm just going to say La La Land is better than Hamilton. Don't email me. Don't email me.
I've seen Hamilton. I haven't seen La La Land. So I
got 18 minutes into Hamilton. I had to turn it off because I was so fucking bored. Couldn't get through songs. Anyway, just going to say. So bad.
Wow.
We'll get our complaints down. Good.
Bags of musicals. Bags of action.
That's today. Yeah. Anyway, really, really good. Really good lead actor. He's doing lots coming up, I'm sure. Lots of films, lots of different projects. But the film didn't quite hang together. The script was okay. There's some really good bits. The action was good. They did well with the characters mostly, but having his wife die as the motivation for him just felt a little bit 1980s. We've seen it, but they did handle some of the other female characters better. But there was only one really in Greer, who was his boss and friend. And I like that they didn't kind of make her a kind of romantic character for him as a thing. That would have just been weird and creepy. So I like they kept it as they're just friends. I don't know. If you go back to something like, you haven't seen them, but the first Harrison Ford film, it works really well by itself, and you don't need that thing of, there'll be another one, it'll carry things on. It's a complete story. This was, but they could have cut it 5 minutes before. And we just never found out about him. It could have just ended with her debriefing, and she says, what happened to so-and-so, oh, he's dead. Or finish at the funeral and she drives off and that's it. You know? Which we didn't even talk about the funeral scene.
No, that's true.
It just felt a bit odd. The fact that he was there. Well, we knew he was there. And
that's also something that's been done to death, where someone fakes their own death and they go to their own funeral.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Oh, not bad.
Not many people.
I thought there'd be more people." And it's like, yeah, I don't. In fairness, I would go to my own funeral, definitely. And I would be literally and I'd be like, "You fucker, you're not here. You are right. I'm going to haunt you, Steve Arian. I'm going to haunt you."
I was very busy on that day, Pete. I couldn't be bothered. I was very busy.
I was watching jiu-jitsu too. So I couldn't. I was washing my hair.
So bad. Yeah.
So, but in films, it's like you just think, "Why? You just move on." You know, I suppose the only reason, in a way, that they had to do something was because his name changes, and that is also in the books that he does have this name change, I suppose. And up until that point, he wasn't the main character from the Clancy books.
Yeah, but they could have she could have just given him some new ID, and he goes, "Your name is now John this." Okay, which she does anyway later on.
That is true. Yeah.
So anyway, I enjoyed it, but I'll say so. I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it 3 bags of action because it was good, but it wasn't great. 4 is really good. 3 is average for me.
Okay. Very similar thoughts here.
Okay.
Michael B. Jordan says very watchable.
Yeah.
Having him and Guy Pearce and Jodie Turner-Smith in this film probably elevated it by quite a long way. I didn't really buy Jamie Bell in his role, but I don't know if that was almost like a sleight of hand thing to you to not really be sure of who he was.
Right.
As I said, both the teams were a little bit interchangeable and one-dimensional. Partway through, I did think, this would have worked better as like a 5-episode miniseries. I think in the modern world of how TV is made. The twists, they were earned, but they were predictable. I thought the wife dying was really gratuitous. Say in the book, she dies in a car accident.
Right. Okay.
I saw a few people talking on Facebook, I think earlier in the week, that have read the books and said it's very like the names of people are the same, and there's some very small similarities, but other than that, it's very, very different. And the biggest thing for me is the trailer felt like it could have been a 5-bag movie. It was almost like, oh, this is going to be something very special. It felt very sort of Catherine Bigelow-esque. But this was kind of a run-of-the-mill spy thriller with strong action sequences and a really good cast. That's probably how I would sum it up. And yeah, on that basis, the film in my head was a 5. There were scenes in this that were really, really strong.
Yes.
Particularly the action sequences and the bit that I completely forgot in the prison, for example, were really, really good. I was like, oh, if you had a whole film at that level, I think it could have been a classic. But there was quite a lot of things that were just like, well, how did he get there? How did this happen? What? That doesn't really make sense. And this has suddenly moved along really quickly, and I'm not sure why. There were some strange pacing decisions. And I think that kind of dragged it down. I agree. I'm going to give it 3 bags of action as well. It's a smack in the middle. It's a good film, but it's not a great film. Probably wouldn't watch it again, but I will probably watch the next one to see what it's like.
If you want the best Jack Ryan stuff, it's the Amazon series featuring John Krasinski as playing a younger Jack Ryan. Don't you saying it'd be better if they'd done like a 5-hour thing? Those are brilliant. Those are like, I can't remember, 8, maybe 10 episodes. Okay. But those are spycraft with some action. And when the action comes, it's convincing, it's real, it feels earned. The fact that he's done the training and he's this and that. And John Krasinski's like 6'5" or something. So he's quite an imposing guy, but he's not, a trained specialist, but he is a spy. And it works really, really well as a espionage thriller more than an action film. And that's what I was leaning towards the action because of the trailer, and then it turns out that this film is somewhere more the other direction, and it just felt like it was pulling too much for me in both directions, and it fell between 2 stools almost. But it was good, but it wasn't as great as I was hoping it to be.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Cool. All right. So have you seen Without Remorse from 2021? If so, get in touch. We always say we love to hear from you. Email us, come onto Twitter and follow us there. Join the Facebook group and talk to us there about this film and any other films that you think we should talk about and review. You can support us on Ko-fi if you want to do that as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll be back next month. All right, Pete, wrap us up.
Thank you for listening and or watching, if indeed you still are.
Good night.